Being pounded with rain around Union down to St. Clair. That rain probably still has some real strong winds, and you may have some weakened tree limbs and they can come through the windows. So just be inside, be away from windows while still the strong portion of the storm comes through. But this is the section where you could develop a tornado, and that is just to the southwest of Villa Ridge and Gray Summit. Let's zoom in a little tighter. Oh, new tornado warning.
Yep, I'm going to interrupt just for a second here, Steve, because we've got a new tornado warning that includes parts of central St. Charles County and northern St. Louis County until 8:15.
Is this going to be near or south of?
Probably the case. I think the rotation they're focusing on is...
That means you need to take shelter now. If you live in those areas, go to your safe place, lowest interior room of your home. Of course, we always talk about this. The basement is by far the best location. You want to be underground, especially when you have these large tornadoes. Not necessarily seeing the large ones here in the St. Louis area, but the basement is going to be the best place. That lowest interior room, a closet or a bathroom, and take a cushion or a pillow to shield your head. So now we've got this tornado warning here in the St. Louis metro area.
You know, the physics of a tornado, there are three directions to it. It's going forward, it's going around in a circle, and it's also going up. So what we want you to do is go in and down. All of the directives that we have about seeking shelter during a tornado are for you to go in and down. So before we go to Tracy, we want to spend a little more time talking about the real critical moment that we're in, and that is this tornado warning. It's in effect for pretty much most of the metro area now, but I'll define it a little bit better for you. It's a tornado warning that's in effect until 8:15, and Cindy went down the list, but I think we need to go back over this because, you know, again, we don't want to underestimate this notion that, well, this is a huge middle portion of a very populated area that we have a potential circulation in. Cindy, I'm going to toss it back to you. I'm not getting the cities pop up for me.
Okay.
So could you just redefine those counties and the area actually covered by the warning specifically?
Absolutely. I'm going to zoom in on this cell, and it's the leading edge that they could get. These little smaller tornadoes could pop up there, and there are so many of these cities now that we're watching, and I'm going to go ahead and put a tracker on this as well, right along this front edge, because that's what we're looking at here as the whole thing moves east at 45 miles per hour. So it's going to include even the downtown area, all those cities within there. O'Fallon is very close to you right now. So Barnes, St. Peter's, that hospital, we've got all the hospitals listed in here as well. St. Louis in about 37 minutes, but Washington, Lake St. Louis, St. Paul, Sullivan, Union, O'Fallon, Darden Prairie, St. Clair, Villa Ridge, Cottleville, St. Peter's, Weldon Springs, Clarkson Valley, Jerseyville, all of these areas, and
Lake as well, Maryland Heights, north side of Creve Coeur. This is Highway 40 down here. Can you clear that for me for a second,
Sure.
Matt? I'm going to point out some cities here. So here's Highway 40. We mentioned Chesterfield. I think this would kind of come through the north side of Chesterfield. This may just move east and start to follow 40. In fact, if this does end up producing a tornado, this could end up being right in the valley. This would cross the Boom Bridge and start producing. Let's loop that. I want to get an idea. Is it moving directly east?
Let me loop it and broaden the scope just a little bit here so you can see it coming in. Tough to tell because the rotating part of that storm just developed within the last 15 or 20 minutes, it looks like.
So it looks like this is going to be very close to either coming right into the Chesterfield Valley and or maybe just a little bit to the north over towards Creve Coeur Lake and Maryland Heights. If it does jump a little bit to the northeast, notice that would take it right into Lambert. So we're going to watch this closely. No damage reported on the ground. It doesn't have that signature like the Good Friday type of tornado did where it was, wow, this is really strong, but it has a signature that it certainly could be producing a tornado. Trying to differentiate it for you, but either one storm as that heads off to the east. On the left-hand side of your screen, you're going to notice
When a line like this comes in with all kinds of severe weather associated with it, you can get spin-up tornadoes very quickly along this line, and it would be right on the leading edge of the line. So folks in Calhoun County and Jersey County in Illinois, be alert that that most intense part of the storm is also working its way towards you. Let's get the latest update on the tornado warning for northern St. Louis and central St. Charles County. Again, that is the tornado warning that is in effect for this area right in here until 8:15 tonight. We are seeing the possibility of rotation around Defiance as that line moves to the east at 45 miles per hour. And that warning does include the Babler Memorial State Park and the First Missouri State Capitol, the historic site in St. Charles County, besides the other towns we were talking about: Dardenne Prairie, O'Fallon, Weldon Spring, Cottleville, Clarkson Valley, Chesterfield, St. Peters, St. Charles, Maryland, Hazelwood, St. John, Berkeley, Olivet, and Kinloch.
About 17 minutes, and I'm hearing in St. Charles the sirens are going off for good reason. There is the tornado warning on this, and I'm telling you, this is a pretty strong signature, so this certainly could be doing damage. Our friends at the National Weather Service are actually located right there in Weldon Spring. What are the odds of a potential tornado running right over them? I'm going to check the chat, see here.
Well, and
we are taking shelter. Our friends at the National Weather Service are taking shelter, and Springfield, Missouri Weather Service office is going to take over ice, and you're doing the right thing. One knows when to take shelter. It's you guys.
Safe place right now. We can't emphasize that enough.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad you sort of highlighted that, Cindy, because if you go back to this radar signature, look at that. That is stronger. Don't you think this is much stronger than what we saw just a few minutes ago? And as we looked, and let's do this. I'm going to tilt this a little bit so you can see the towers on this thing. This actually, these are towers that are growing. So
They're
that is a
50,000 feet. Yeah,
50,000 feet. So that is a storm that actually is getting bigger as it goes. It's really liking the upper level shear that it's getting, so this is strengthening. We may end up with this inspiring a tornado warning for Jefferson County in just a few minutes. I just assume you understand in Jefferson County, no matter where you are, that this is a tornado warning that's probably going to be expanded into your area. So tornado warning remains in effect. That is a really impressive notch, and that tells us a lot about the power. Nation's trying to spin up here just to the
into eastern Franklin County and into northwestern Jefferson County. That circulation, I'll tell you, it still looks strong right over Robertsville. Sirens are now going off in St. Louis County. The reason is because we have this tornado warning right here moving into the county, maybe near the valley. This may hit the valley or just north. And then I wouldn't be surprised if folks in northeastern Franklin County have the sirens going off. If you're in Jefferson County or southwestern St. Louis County, the sirens may be going off for you too. I mean, we basically have two areas where a tornado could be coming in to northern Jefferson County, southern St. Louis, and then this far southern southeastern portion of St. Charles County and moving into St. Louis County. So
and
that's two spots.
Yeah, that cell on the north, it looks like, is going to pass very, very close to the Boone Bridge there as you head into the Chesterfield Valley.
Sirens are sounding in Richmond Heights. Here, let's take a beat, tuning into the, and that's what you should do. The sirens kind of
circulation that is hard on the Weather Center Service Center itself. So here is our dome. Let's switch to the other radar source, and I'll show you that notch. And it is really impressive. Right there is where we're thinking we could have a circulation coming up hard against the National Weather Service office, but there's another one right there, and we'll sort of go down the road a little bit. The most impressive signature continues to be this one, Cindy, that we're seeing down here in he's fallen apart a little bit, but it's still pretty impressive right over the top of Robertsville. So where does this have to go? Well, it has to come into the rest of Jefferson County. These storms are just so You know, they have so much torque on them. We haven't had a whole lot of time to talk about the bigger, larger weather causes for this, but there is an upper level low pressure system to the west of us. It's trying to send winds out of the west-southwest across the region. At the surface, you've got southerly winds. So that means the leading edge of this line of thunderstorms, every one of those updrafts from thunderstorms that are reaching heights of nearly 10 miles.
Mike?
Are trying to spin.
I've got some information here. The St. Charles County Sheriff's Dispatch reports a funnel cloud, K and Mexico Road, and that's by Missouri State Troopers. So that's K and Mexico Road in St. Charles County. Also, a funnel cloud was sighted there, some rotation at Hawk Ridge south of Highway 40 in Lake St. Louis. So we definitely have some rotation out there. These thunderstorms are certainly capable, and when you get that close
side, but this is going to head right towards Harvester. If this creeps up the line any farther north, it could get into St. Charles City as well. So got to track this off to the east. Notice St. Charles City right there. Harvester in about 4 minutes. Probably be about 12 minutes for Maryland Heights, and it would be like 8 to 10 minutes if it crept up north to St. Charles. St. Anne in about 18 minutes.